Tannehill fires left corner of the end zone. It's caught by Westbrook Akine. Is he in? He is. Touchdown! Titans! Throws Cooper. Did he catch it? Did he catch the ball? A juggle? And they are marking it as a catch at the 37-yard line. Play fake. Tannehill throwing deep downfield, going for Burks. He's got it at the 20, at the 15, at the 10, at the 5. Tannehill looking, firing deep downfield, going for Burks, and Burks caught it! Whoa! Comeback catch! Burks takes it away from Taylor Britt inside the 25. Throws the flat for a Conqueror, one-hand catch. Yes! Oh, 2 for Tennessee as Okonkwo reached the big paw out there.
What is up, Titan Nation? Thank y'all so much for coming by tonight. We already got 22 in the house, gentlemen. So thank y'all so much for stopping by. As you can see, we have a pretty stellar group of content creators here tonight with us. Very excited about this show. We're going to get into some various topics. And thank you guys for coming on tonight, man. I hope y'all are all doing well, man. First thing I kind of wanted to get into, and, before we get into the Titans stuff and all that, I do want to go through, there's a few things that have happened, pretty big news that's happened today in the NFL. And Sean Payton, that's the latest news, going to the Denver Broncos for, I think somebody said a first round pick and maybe a second round pick or something. First round pick this year, second pick next year. And we'll kind of start off with Ryan down there in the bottom, my bottom right. What do you think about this, man? Is it finally, is this Denver's time? Is he going to fix Russell Wilson?
We'll see. He does have a knack of fixing quarterbacks. He fixed Drew Brees. Drew Brees came from San Diego to New Orleans. Same kind of built quarterback on the smaller side. So he knows what to do with smaller quarterbacks. So, the Broncos do have an offense that's kind of built to Russell Wilson's strengths in regards to he has the receiving core. Does have a decent running game. Got to get, Williams back healthy because, he missed, most of last year, most of this season with an injury. Basically, to me, it just kind of comes down to if Russell is, was this year just a bad year, or it was just more of or is it going to be more of what to come in the future? So it's going to be up to Russell Wilson to see, like, okay, is this just one of those years where he just had a bad year because he was under bad coaching, or if this is just, is Russell Wilson really is a washed-up quarterback?
And what do you guys think? I mean, and any of y'all can go. I mean, I don't know. The way Russell looked this year, I mean, it was just a totally different quarterback. Is this, like Ryan said, is he washed up, or is he still got some left in the tank?
I think you look at it from a perspective where you had people saying that he was using old terminology from the offense he was previously using with Seattle. So that might be part of it. So, as Ryan said, Sean Payton, he's definitely the quarterback whisperer. So Denver did a good job at getting a coach in this system that's going to develop him and hopefully make him progress to what they need him to be this upcoming season. But realistically, it's going to come down to Russell just changing his ways a little bit and being a little open-minded.
And what was interesting, too, was they were going after D'Amico Ryans pretty hard. And the Texans, and he ended up going to the Texans. And I read a report on Ian Rappaport's Twitter that they were even going after Ryans after he had already supposedly accepted the job with the Texans. So I don't know if Sean Payton was like their second choice, but if he was their second choice, that seems like a lot to give up for a second choice. I don't know. Pretty interesting to me as far as that goes. And, with the way the league's going, D'Amico, is it D'Amico, right? D'Amico Ryans is a defensive-minded coach, and you would think it being the Broncos and all that, they would want a more of an offensive guy like Sean Payton. Well, I mean, when they ended up getting Sean Payton, but very interesting, man. I don't know much about, and it shows my ignorance, but I don't know much about D'Amico Ryans as a coach. I know he was highly sought after. Any of you guys, you think he's going to be good with the Texans? And Tyler, we'll let you go on this one.
I'm kind of in the same boat as you here, Rossi. Like, I saw the news today about the hiring, and I mean it just kind of depends, because overall, I feel like if you look more at teams that are succeeding right now, like in the playoffs more, if you have more of a defensive-minded coach, and I know how this is going to sound, especially, Titans, we have a defensive-minded coach, but you see more of the offensive-minded coaches. I feel like going deeper into these playoffs, with a few exceptions here and there, but this is also a homecoming kind of for him, isn't it? Didn't he play with the Texans?
Yeah.
So, this could be one of those things where maybe it does give, with it being that like homecoming, gives a little bit of a spark there for them.
What I would be concerned about if I were the Texans is simply that I don't know the Texans have the personnel on how he wants to run that defense. I just don't know if they have that personnel. They rely, his type of defense kind of relies heavily on the safety being exactly where he's supposed to be at all times, and linebackers being able to cover a little bit more than normal. So I just don't know if they have those types of players on that team yet. So, I would, if they're going to do it, I think that they're going to be looking toward maybe kind of like the Titans, drafting some guys and then going in the free agent market and becoming very active in the free agent market too. That's just what I honestly don't know if they have the guys on the team to run this defense.
And speaking of the Titans, I do want to kind of switch gears and get into that. As far as the OC search and things like that, we released something on the network this past week. I'll put it on the screen here, about the Titans' top candidate being Matt Nagy. The Titans want an OC who can develop a QB, open up the offense. That's why they are focusing on Nagy. Meanwhile, Mike Vrabel wants to promote from within, but is not putting up too much of a fight. He's willing to work with Rand Carthon. Mike. This is what a lot of people on Twitter and in the video I had released perked their ears up here. Got a lot of debate over this last paragraph, but Carthon likes Malik, wants to develop him like a Pat Mahomes type of quarterback. He also had discussions with Josh Dobbs about staying with the Titans. So this could probably take up the entire show, just this right here. And I want to dig into this because people want to talk about this,
Mm-hmm.
And it is interesting to me, guys, that, you see Kellen Moore getting hired. You see these other coordinators getting hired today. It kind of, in a way, makes kind of sense, because either the Titans are just sticking with what's his name from with him, Tim Kelly, or they're waiting on Kansas City. Obviously Kansas City's in the Super Bowl, so they can't hire any of those guys right now. What do you guys think, man? We'll start with James. Just kind of go around, man.
Well, I mean, my sources were fairly clear on that. I mean, they were fairly clear that that Malik is the future, but not now. He's got a lot of cleaning up to do with his footwork. He's got a lot of cleaning up to do with making quicker decisions. I think we were discussing this right before. He's 220 pounds and he runs like a 4.40. He didn't run at the combine, so the 4.4 you can kind of take with a grain of salt. So that could be really anywhere from like a 4.4 to a 4.5, somewhere around there. So, and he's got a cannon for an arm. He has the attributes to do that. He has the attributes to be kind of the future of this franchise. But I think he's, I think first of all, the game's too fast for him right now. It's just going too fast. And you see that with a lot of high end, high ceiling quarterbacks. But at the same time, at some point in time, you got to take your shot. You got to you got to man up and take your shot. It's you're either going to be, the greatest thing since sliced bread or the worst thing since hitting a man in the head with a rock. So you don't have a whole lot of, there's not a lot of middle ground in there when it comes to, a guy like Malik. It's either going to be a hit or a miss. I think he has the potential of being a hit, and that's the reason why they're going after an OC that can develop a quarterback. And there's no one out there that can say that he can't be developed.
And Mike, what do you think? I know you got a lot of knowledge on a lot of coaches out there and things like that, as far as different coaches. What is your opinion on Matt Nagy or Bieniemy, or do you think there's anything to this type of stuff, or are you wanting somebody else at OC?
Well, I mean, the three candidates that have been linked with the Titans are very good in their own right, and I think they should be discussed in trying to get this job. But one name I don't think is getting a lot of discussion would be Eric Slowick of the 49ers. For the last few years, he's been a rising superstar, going from the defensive end of the football to offense and actually getting these quarterbacks developed the way that he has. And you look at the Niners quarterback situation in the last few years, it's amazing the fact that this guy has actually just been able to tamper with them and just get them to the level of play that they put out. So I think he's a very big name that Tennessee should try and swing for now that the Niners are pretty much all out of it. But looking at the other three candidates, as James said, you need somebody that's going to help develop this quarterback going forward. Malik Willis is still raw. He needs somebody that understands his skill set, but also help him along and develop as what a quarterback needs to be doing properly. He needs to be working on his footwork. He needs to be working on his throwing mechanics. He needs to be working on a situation to where he can have a check down. He needs to be learning how to read defenses. These are the basic principles quarterbacks need, and we didn't get to see any of because he basically got thrown in the fire, and Todd Downing couldn't run a McDonald's. So let's just be honest about that.
That's funny. And Tyler, he brings up a point about Downing and that. I mean, do you look at Malik's inability to progress? Is it a Downing thing or is it just a Malik thing?
I mean, I think it's honestly a combination of both, because when he got drafted, I think all of us knew that Malik was going to be a project quarterback. He was going to have to develop a lot more, and it was the potential of Malik that kind of got everyone excited, including myself. So I think that's part of it. And then when you pair that with Todd Downing, it's it's not a recipe for success. So, it's like I said, I think it's that it was that perfect mix, if you want to say perfect, of where you have a project quarterback and a really bad offensive coordinator. So he wasn't going to be able to succeed. And the game does need to slow down for him more.
Right. And Ryan, as far as in your opinion too, do you think a lot of people are talking about Malik like possibly being the guy next year and this and that? I mean, how do you see Malik moving forward with this Titans team? I mean, do you think he's a guy we should keep in the oven a little bit longer, or keep developing, or do you think it's, and I guess a lot of it depends on what the Titans' plans are this offseason as a whole, but how do you feel about Malik in general and his ability to maybe, could he be a starter one day?
I think personally, I think that I do think he has the talent. Is to everybody's point, he has to mature as a quarterback, being able to make smart decisions, being able to be, the main thing is to be decisive. Saw a lot of indecisive quarterback play that he had, and as a result, it kind of got the fan base all, kind of mixed. People saying, "Oh, give it more time." Other fan bases, the other half of the fan base is saying, "Oh, I'm done with him after 3 starts." To me, I just feel like Malik needs to be in a better situation in regards of offensive coordinator, QB coach, getting some talent around him, because I mean, he was in probably the worst spot that you can really imagine a rookie quarterback to be in, with with the worst offensive line in football, injuries all around, not having the receiving talent. Derrick Henry is your only weapon, and then you got a bad offensive coordinator that couldn't, to Mike's point, couldn't run a McDonald's. So at the end of the day, that's a bad situation to be in for any quarterback, let alone a rookie quarterback. So I do think that they should put him, to your point, Rossi, to, stick him in the oven a little bit longer, give him time to develop. You want to at least know what you got before you say, okay, I'm going to wash my hands with it. I think you should at least, give it a little bit more time and see what happens from there. I do believe Malik has the ability, and I think he has the mindset to want to get better, and that's the main thing. If you have the mindset to want to get better, you should at least give that guy a chance to, at least compete for the starting role.
Yeah, to our viewers, if you want to, using the analogy of put him in the oven, keep him in the oven a little longer. Think of it like this. Think of it like you've gone out to the store and you bought a box of cake mix. Okay, at this point, we haven't even opened the box yet. That's where he is. He's been in such a bad position, we haven't even opened the box yet to see what was in it. We don't know if we're going to get a chocolate cake, we're going to get angel food cake. We don't know nothing about this guy because he's in such an awful, awful position. And at times I felt sorry for him because I'm like going, they're even the play selection, they're running all the receivers to one side of the field. There's no spacing. The defenders are collapsing in. You have no windows. I mean, even the best quarterbacks have to have some window to throw into. It may be small, but they have some window to throw into. He had no window to throw into. And he's running for his life at the same time. I mean, it's a sad situation he was put in. Nobody deserves to be put in that position and then evaluated off that position, because it's not only, I always tell my son, life's not fair. Get used to it. But at that point, it's worse than not fair. It's rigged.
Yeah. It is. It's pretty wild, man. And I do want to get to there's a lot of people in the chat tonight. We thank you so much. Please tighten up that like button, as we say at the Titan Upload Network. Everybody in here except Titans Time is a part of the Titan Upload Network, but he is a great friend of the network, as well as Titan Anderson, another guy who's a huge friend on the network as well. He's been in the chat tonight, so much love to him. And all of our other Titan Upload, Draft Brian. We got a lot of folks in this thing now. I do want to get to some of the comments. Shout out to everybody in the chat. I see you, Chris Frazier, the Pelican, Sin City Titan. Carrie's in the building. TDP's wife. She's always comes with the fire comments. P Shark, what's up, man? Go
Chris
follow
has been there since like 6.
Yeah. Go follow P Shark. Let's Be Real Media. He's got a podcast and everything too. They've been rocking and rolling. Pig Wickle is in the building. Titan Fox. I'm gonna get to your question, Chris. I know you've been chomping at the bit about your Tannehill question. We'll get to it, man. Titan Anderson, Mr. Jensen, Titan Fox, a lot of you guys in here. DBS, Oiler Titan, Derps, the Pelican, our resident Titans hater, Kent Woods is in the building. So shout out to him. Al Pierce, the good Reverend Al Pierce is in the building tonight. So many blessings to you, my friend. Daddy Hot Drops in the building. Titan the Tiger, Clifton Blackard, William Young, my buddy William Young there. We're in a chat together on Twitter. Keelan Maxwell, all you guys, man. All you guys are awesome. Y'all make this what it is. And we really appreciate you, man. All right, Chris, we are going to get to your question. And we are going to let our resident insider get to it first. Mr. Frazier, Titans for life. What is up with Tannehill? What's the Titans' plans? What are they thinking? Tell us everything. Bear all.
Well, right now they're still they're finishing up their player evaluations. Because most teams do this at the end of when their season ends. They go through an intensive period of 3-4 weeks, 3, 4, 5 weeks of looking at their player evaluations, and they go out and they look at what they're expecting to hit the market and trying to see if there's upgrades out there. Going through some some guys who are in the draft, seeing, okay, do we have enough talent in the draft where we think one of these guys is going to fall to us? There's a whole lot of evaluation that goes on right there. Do we have someone on the practice squad who might be able to come in and provide some backup or whatever? At this point, from what I've been told, is that it's 50-50 on Ryan Tannehill, whether he's going to return. And it's literally a toss-up. It's literally a toss-up. His cap number is 37.9, I believe. And that's post June 1st. Post June 1st, it's 37.9. Before that, it's they don't save nearly as much. So the question then becomes: is Ryan Tannehill going to be worth $37.9 million for essentially 1 year? It also depends on what they think about Malik and who they can get in as the OC to develop him and things like that. How long they think that's going to take. So that's the argument right now. Do we keep Ryan Tannehill to kind of help Malik? But Ryan Tannehill is dead set against being a mentor, as he said last year. So do you bring somebody in who can be a mentor? Do you bring someone in, or do you bring someone in who is efficient enough and is how do I put this? I'm trying to put this delicately because I don't want to offend anyone, but has the right mentality that knows that they're not a long-term solution at starter. And that is part of what I was saying at the end, of what I was being told at the end of that, and the reason why they had reached out and asked certain players to stay. Would they stay? Would they be willing to sign a contract? And that's the whole idea, is that right now the Titans are over the cap. Was it 22 million, something like that? 21, 22 million?
23.
23? Yeah.
23.
Okay. Yeah, 23 million.
Over, yeah.
Yeah. And if you get rid of 5 players, it's $76 million. And those 5 are, of course, Lewan, Woods, Dupree, Tannehill, and Cunningham. If you get rid of all of those guys after June 1st, you're going to save 76.1 million. If you get rid of them, if you keep Tannehill, the number drops down to 49.1. I think my math's right on that. 49.1. Either way, you're going to have money for the cap. So, I just wonder as a GM, what do you do? Personally, I just approach Ryan and say, look, if you're not going to mentor him, you're not going to teach him, you're not going to help us get him ready. And then maybe, there may be a coach position, position coach for you later on or something like that. Then we have no use for you because, it's, 27 million or what was it? It's 27 million. I'm sorry. I said 37. It's 27 million for Ryan. And I'm getting most of my numbers from over the cap. So if they cut him before June 1st, they only save 17.8. If they cut him after June 1st, it's 27. So I really do think at this point in the office, it's a toss up. What do you guys think? I mean, I think it's a toss up. Depends on Ryan's attitude.
I mean, realistically, I think if they have to hold on to him for another year, it's not going to hurt anything. I'd rather have the experience and just give him a genuine shot, putting some weapons around him this offseason to see what he can do. Now, is he going to be lights out? I don't know. I mean, we've only seen what he can really do with a healthy offensive line and with semi-decent receivers at the time. But going forward, I mean, what's the Titans' long-term plan? Is Malik the long-term plan? Are they looking elsewhere? I mean, realistically, this might be a down year for Tennessee. So there's going to be a situation where they probably are just going to start just getting ready for next year going forward and try and build up some cap space and try and maybe look down the road to other players and just kind of just stack the cupboard, so to say.
Yeah, I think the key is if they sign Josh Dobbs to a 2 or 3 year deal, that Ryan's gone. If they don't sign Dobbs to a 2 or 3 year deal, then Tannehill's back. That's just my feeling. But I have no concrete. No one has said that, but that's just a general feeling that I get.
And what do you feel about that, Tyler? Like, I mean, how do you feel that the Titans are going to go? What direction this offseason? Because there's a few different ways this could go down, right? And we've talked about it. Rebuild, retool, competitive rebuild. There's all types of words you can use. I guess it all depends on what their plans are. What do you think their plans are?
Man, it's tough because like Power Hour was saying, do you keep him around and try to put some, fix things around him and pretty much see what he can do for just one more year? Or do you kind of have that little bit of a down year, more than likely, and look down the road a couple of years, have that extra cap space? Just like James said, I feel like what they do with Dobbs will be kind of the tell. I have a gut feeling that if they bring Dobbs back, then Tannehill is probably gone. They're going to, look to save that extra money, maybe let Dobbs, compete at least for that starting role. And, if they're feeling like Malik is the long-term answer, then I can see him filling the backup role again and rocking with Dobbs as the starter, because if Malik's going to be the long-term, like if he's the long-term plan, you don't want to necessarily bump him back down to 3 on the depth chart. At some point, he's going to have to be able to either take over, or you're going to have to see that he's not going to be the answer. So if you have him in that backup role, if Dobbs comes back, something were to happen to Dobbs, then Malik needs to take over, and Titans got to see what they have there.
And Ryan, like, if you are the GM, we put you on the hot seat here. If you're the GM, man, how are you approaching this situation?
I would basically look at the overall team, because yes, you look at Tannehill's cap. I mean, there are some other guys that need to be re-signed. You got to look at, re-signing Jeffrey Simmons, maybe bring back Nate Davis, maybe bring back David Long, some quality guys, on this team. And if Tannehill is kind of the reason why you're not being able to bring some of those guys back, then you got to make that tough decision and say, okay, maybe we do need to sign a guy like Josh Dobbs, a veteran guy, and have Malik, and Josh Dobbs compete for the starting role. Vrabel has already made it clear that he's not in the business of rebuilding. So he's going to do what's best. He's going to do what's best for the team, because he wants to win. He's not going to be on board for a 3-14 season or a 4-13 season. He's not going to be on board with that. So I think, to me personally, I think he wants to bring. I think, to me, if I was the GM, I would probably cut Tannehill and try to bring some of those guys back that are important to the team as well. Guys like Nate Davis, and just and then sign Josh Dobbs and have Josh Dobbs and Malik Willis kind of compete for that starting role, unless you can find another quarterback that could be just as good as both of them. Maybe a guy like Trey Lance, or maybe, a veteran quarterback that can fill in that role and have Malik be the backup other than Josh Dobbs.
One guy we got to sign that I think is a must we have to sign is Tier Tart. We've got it. We've got to sign him some way, somehow. So, I mean, I love Ryan Tannehill. I think he's been great for the franchise, but his number is just, for me, it's just too big of a pill to swallow for the production. So, and I can get Josh Dobbs, who's a little bit more mobile, who can go out there and, make some plays with his feet and, make some throws on the run, who seem to be, with 2 weeks or like 10 days or something like that on the team. He's starting and is actually looking pretty decent, with an awful offensive line. I mean, you may have to give him, $8-9 million a year for a couple of years, but that sure heck beats $27 million for 1 year. And that's 2 contracts right there in savings.
Right. It'd be interesting to see, man, because, like y'all were saying, you got guys you got to bring back. Nate Davis, to me, is a must. Mm-hmm. You got to re-sign him. I mean, he's a solid guard. He's a starter. You don't really hear his name called a lot, which is good for an offensive lineman. He's solid, and you got to wonder what type of money he's going to get. I mean, he's probably in the top 15, I'd say. He's probably going to want top 15 and I would say guard money. I mean, I would imagine. And then you look at Simmons. Simmons wants a deal done. I mean, there's no doubt about it. Now, they can bring him back without a deal being done, but he wants a deal done. He talked about it this offseason after the season was over. He was talking about it in the locker room, how he wanted a deal done. And, he does really like it in Tennessee. And it's going to be, I mean, he's going to be a lot of money. Now they could backload it or whatever and make the first year not so damaging. But then you got guys, who else do we got? David Long. I mean, what do they do with David Long? How do they feel about David Long? Because David Long's probably not going to be cheap either. So you got quite a few guys that you got to pay. And if they don't cut Tannehill, are they going to be able to keep some of these core guys? And how do they feel about going in the next season? Do they feel, hey, let's roll out there with Dobbs and Malik and just see what the hell happens? Or do they feel, we want to be competitive, we want to stay competitive, we need to keep Tannehill on or bring in whoever else? All this talk about Aaron Rodgers, I just don't see it. I don't see it financially working. Aaron Rodgers has a $60 million bonus and something like a $40 million salary cap or something like that, I want to say. Or no, I think it might be actually lower than that. But he's got a big bonus. But he's been on record saying he knows he'll have to change that if he goes somewhere else. Now, I don't see that happen. I don't know. I kind of see him sticking with Tannehill. But like you said, James, I mean, there's a 50-50 shot. I think at this point, it's hard to judge this past season. Somebody made a really good comment. I wanted to post that up there. TP. He said, if we're being honest, the team was really competitive up until Green Bay. Then the injuries, we were kept coming to key positions, and the Cincy game kind of broke the spirits along with the OC. And the OC is apparently in jail right now for a couple of days. But that was some news that came out. But he makes a good point, man. This team was competitive, and it's like, where do we go from here? We're kind of in limbo right now with this team. We're not a terrible team. We're not a 2-win, 1-win, 3-win team. We're still somewhat competitive. It's kind of a up in the air type of offseason, and it'll be interesting as hell to see what happens this offseason with everything.
Now, do y'all think anyone will trade for Tannehill?
Atlanta, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe Atlanta. Yeah.
Atlanta. Maybe the Jets if they can't get like Carr or somebody like that.
Because, I mean, that could be another option versus cutting him.
That's a bad salary to take, though.
Yeah. I mean, another outside shot is if they don't think things are going to work out in Denver, maybe Denver would want to trade for him, but I don't think they have any trade capital to do the deal. So
yeah, they don't have no capital.
Yeah, they're going. That's good.
I don't think they're going to stick with Russell and see what now that Peyton's there. I mean, I think they're going to see what Sean Payton can do with Wilson. Probably. I don't know.
In order for the Titans to keep Nate Davis, I'm guessing it's going to have to be a 5-year, somewhere between $9 and $12 million a year deal. I mean, that's the caliber of where he really kind of is. I think that's where the Titans are going to have to be, and I just don't see being able to do that and have money left over for your draft picks and some free agents to come in to fill, major holes that we have without cutting Tannehill. I don't see without getting rid of that salary. I mean, and we're talking about these teams who may take him, but they're not going to take him at 27 mil. They're not going to take Ryan Tannehill at that 27 mil. So he'd have to be willing to negotiate his contract down. And if he's willing to negotiate his contract down, then he should be, then the Titans would probably be able to keep him. So I just don't see Ryan staying unless there's some major restructuring of his deal and a whole lot of other hoops to jump through. It's going to be a very difficult thing. When you can forego all of those things, release him June 2nd or June 1st or whatever day that is, and you've got a guy like Dobbs who is really and truly one of the smartest quarterbacks to ever play because he literally is a rocket scientist.
Yeah.
He's literally a rocket scientist. And a guy who can come in and memorize your playbook in 10 days is a guy who, he can make some plays for you. He doesn't have the strongest arm. He's not the fastest guy out there, but he's probably going to be the smartest guy out there.
And I think, Rand, I think he sees a team that's tough, that's competitive. This is what he said during the press conference about, the Titans' toughness and as a team.
What's out is how hard and how tough this team is, how hard they play. And I think the team has been made in the image of our head coach. Mike is a tough guy. He works hard. I just almost said something else, and I saw my kids sitting there. But I think the team is built in his image, and what Mike believes in. And like I said before, our core foundation of football comes from the same tree, and I believe in those.
So there you go. And he's been on quite a few shows saying this and that, I really like the guy, though. I think a lot of people really like him. He kind of brings in a breath of fresh air to this organization.
And a sense of history. And a sense of history, too. If I'm not mistaken, this is the first time that a female owner has ever had an African-American GM.
It is.
That is, to me, history making in the fact that, it's never been done. And, I feel, in a way, I feel, I feel kind of proud of that, that the NFL is evolving. We have female owners. We have African-American GMs, African-American head coaches. We've got female coaches now. We got female referees, and it's evolving to to acknowledge that there are more people out there that love football than men, and that there are people who are smart that are not white. I mean, it's just, and I know that our audience isn't like that, but the NFL for so many generations was a good old boy network, and now it's becoming, look, to be competitive, we got to search high, low, mid ground. We got to search everywhere. We got to go to Mars if it takes that. So I commend Amy for that. And I commend Rand for seeing something in the Titans. The toughness of the Titans is what he talks about. He talks about toughness, about quarterbacks, about just the mentality of the team and the head coaches. But at the same time, we've got to start thinking smart about our OC. We've got to start thinking smart about planning a little bit more for the future to keep this generationally going. How is it that some teams can continually have, year after year after year after year, good teams that make the playoff? You look at you look at some organizations and they just can do it. They find a way to do it, and the Titans need to start getting into that situation where they're able to do that. Maybe that's accumulating draft picks, wheeling and dealing, getting some stuff like that. But for so long, the Titans have been in this win now and only now type of mentality. And then before that, it was, we're not going to pay our players. You know, you're going to get good and we're going to ship you off somewhere. And I just don't think Rand and Amy are those types of people. They want to be successful. They've got a new stadium going up, and Amy wants a Super Bowl to be here in Tennessee. And so, you know, I think that the NFL wants to come back to Nashville quite often because of what we did when we had the draft here.
Yeah. And also Rashid talking about the salary cap. The salary cap is going up.
Mm-hmm.
I think this upcoming year it's like 225 million or something. So that's going to help out a lot too. You know what I mean? Kind of moving on.
Well, yeah, we'll still be over the cap.
Yeah.
Right. We'll still be over, but kind of moving on into some other stuff too. A thing I saw today, man, that really irritated the hell out of me was, you know, Stonehouse, our punter, one of the bright spots of the Titans this year, literally broke an 82-year-old NFL record that was once called the unbreakable record, and broke it by 2 more yards of punt, damn near 2 more yards of punt. He was an alternate for the Pro Bowl. Whoever the starter is, I guess, is in the Super Bowl or whatever. So they picked the alternate, and the alternate was not Ryan Stonehouse. I don't know who it was. Unbelievable, man. Just unbelievable to me. I've seen some stuff on Twitter recently about some players even talking about how the Pro Bowl is actually, they don't even kind of look at that as something great. They know it's kind of a popularity contest, that they look at being all pro, something that they really value over that. And Mike, I kind of want to get to you, and we'll kind of go to Tyler and Ryan there, but the Titans this past year, and somebody mentioned it in the comments about how they want to get younger, faster. Vrabel talked about that. We had more games played or more production by rookies other than any other team in the league. Do you see this trend continuing, or do you see this us kind of signing some free agents? Or I guess it all depends on where we're going this offseason too.
And I mean, that's really the answer right there, Rossi. We don't know what Rand Carthon's vision of the Tennessee Titans is going to look like until they've gone through all the combines, until they've started getting these private workouts throughout the college pro days. There's just so much to weigh on with free agency. But realistically, we know the biggest thing that's going to help the Titans progress. They've got to build around a quarterback. And right now, they don't have an answer for the quarterback position.
And Tyler, I'm sorry.
So, I mean, what we're really going to have to see is if they're going to roll with Tannehill for one more year, if Malik's going to be the answer going forward, or maybe there's somebody in the draft that they fall in love with. This happens a lot. So I'm not going to discount that, but I do think whatever the Titans do, they're going to have to find the right quarterback to build the system around. Because as much as Derrick Henry is a key factor in this offense, they've got to evolve.
Right. And Tyler, as Mike was talking about the draft there, who is one guy that, you know, at the Titans picking at 11th, who is that one guy that you want?
The one guy that I want, I feel like if you're sitting there at 11, we talked about this earlier a little bit with the offensive line. Talked about how more than pretty much set in stone, Lawan is gone. We need to take one of the top tackles at 11. In my opinion, that's where we need to go with it. Take one of the top tackles and start trying to fix the offensive line, because if we don't fix the O-line, I don't care who you throw back at quarterback, they're not going to – if they don't have time, they're not going to be able to do anything, like, no matter who it is. And just like, Rossi, you mentioned earlier about how you feel like Nate Davis is a guy that is a must-keep. And, you know, I was thinking about this earlier and didn't want to cut you off, but talking about how what keeps us competitive, I think the thing that keeps the Titans more competitive is actually cutting Tannehill so that you have that extra cap space to sign more of these guys back. You know, kind of just that, you know, the value of more guys over just one guy. So if you let Nate Davis go, that's just another hole in the offensive line that has to be fixed. But at 11,
Yeah.
I think you got to go with one of the top tackles.
Yeah.
And how are you feeling about that, Ryan? Is that something? Are you a guy that's like, we need to go skill position? You know, kind of who are a couple guys on your radar for the Titans there in the draft in the first round?
Yeah, I agree with Tyler. You got to start with offensive line. I mean, it's the worst. Titans had the 32nd ranked offensive line in football. There's only 32 teams in the National Football League. So you got to address the offensive line in order to have a great offense. I mean, to Tyler's point, if you don't have a great offensive line, you're not going to be able to utilize the offense the way you want to. You know, Henry's not going to be able to get the room they get to, you know, break off big games. Wherever the quarterback is not going to be able to have time to survey the field and find the right read to get the receivers the ball. So we got to start with your offensive line. The one guy I'm looking at, and I mentioned this on the Power Hour on yesterday, is Paris Johnson from Ohio State. I think he's a Mike Vrabel guy. Obviously, he's from Ohio State, so there's some connection right there. But he's a big guy. He's a great run blocker. He's a decent pass blocker. He could be a little bit better in pass blocking. But I would say Paris Johnson is the guy for me. The only drawback from that is he's such a high pick from a lot of teams. And there is a couple of teams that are picking ahead of the Titans that also need some O-line help, like the Raiders. The Raiders might take a chance and get him as well. So that might be, if you really want him, you might have to trade up a little bit to get Paris Johnson, to make sure a team like the Raiders don't draft him. But I would say, to me, you know, you got to start with the offensive line and build from within there in order to have a great offense.
Yeah. Well, if the Titans can't get Paris, then they need to be looking at either Broderick Jones or Blake Freeland, I think his name is. Those are the two, you know, those are the two guys who I saw. Yes, Freeland. Those are the two guys who I saw saw tape on, and they are just brawlers. They're not, you know, your typical offensive. They like to get in there and mix it up. They will, you know, they are really that good. So I think, to me, Broderick Jones and Freeland are the two guys. Blake Freeland, yeah, that's him. Those are the two guys who are just, I don't know how, we call them dogs. You know, where I'm from, they just straight dogs. You know, they're junkyard dogs who will get after you and will eat you for lunch if you mess around with them too much. So those are the two guys who you know, I think the Titans are most likely to fall to the Titans at 11. And, you know, you got to, you know, to me, I think you've got to go offensive line. I think in the second round you can take a shot. I mean, because there's going to be some really good receivers in the second round. There's going to be some really, really good receivers in the second round that are going to be sitting there for the Titans to go after and take. I mean, Ryan, have you been looking at that? Michael, Tyler, have y'all been looking at those guys and looking at that and saying, okay, yeah, we got to go?
Yeah, I mean, another option too is, I mean, you can also trade down as well and get one of those guys as well and get some more draft capital. I mean, Titans only got 5 draft picks this year. Maybe want to get a couple of extra draft picks and by trading down as well. So you can trade down and get one of those mentioned offensive linemen as well. We need a Trent Williams kind of a guy that's not going to take no miss from nobody, and just somebody that can bring that nastiness to the offensive line, because we've been missing that for quite some time. The Titans, it seems like the Titans are a little bit lacking in attitude in regards to on the field. Don't want to have it off the field, which the Titans have done a great job of not having off the field distractions, but we need some attitude on the field, that's going to be able to kind of rile up the roster, rile up the team, and get the team to play with a little bit of nastiness, especially in the offensive line.
Yeah, if they're going to drop back, then that Voorhees guy is going to be there. And I mean, come on, who wouldn't want to tackle named Voorhees? Come on now. But I think Voorhees, if I'm not mistaken, he's a guard, isn't he?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So I mean, there are just I just wanted to mention his name, to be honest with you, because like that, we're gonna stick Voorhees out there at you. There are going to be some pretty good guys that are available late in the first round, early in the second round. So if the Titans wanted to get some draft capital, I think it's possible they could get that. Sometimes people make you offers you just can't refuse. And if you've identified 6 or 7 guys who are all just junkyard dogs out there at tackle, you go get them. You go out there and you say, okay, you want me to drop back 6 spots, and I'm going to get one of the 5 guys I've already identified. Heck yeah, go ahead. I'll get that extra, second and third round pick. So
there's a guy out of Northwestern that's the Skoronsky guy that he could be a guy that the Titans are interested in at 11. But I think if you got a guy like Paris Johnson available at 11, it's an absolute no-brainer. And if the Titans took anybody else other than him, unless they already picked up a tackle, like a starting caliber tackle in the free agency or whatever, which free agency starts like March 15th. So it's right around the corner.
But a left tackle in free agency is going to cost you a bundle.
Super expensive.
Yeah.
Orlando Brown, all those type of guys are going to be so expensive. There's no way in hell they're going to be able to get somebody.
And then you end up
like that.
Not if you're an analytic guy. If you're a guy like Greg Carthon and you're looking for somebody that's undervalued, you'll find it.
Yeah. But then again, you're also looking at, for me, it would be like, okay, has this guy been in the league for more than 5 or 6 years? If he is, then, what's his injury status going to be? The Titans have been bitten by the injury bug 2 years in a row. When it comes to offensive line, personally, I prefer a little bit of youth, but you also want to pepper maybe his backup or something like that, or someone to mentor him, his backup or something like that, because, if Taylor had somebody like that when he first came into the league, I don't think we'd have had nearly as many problems out of him on the field as we did when he first came in.
Right.
I mean, realistically, I'm fine with drafting a tackle if they're there.
Yeah.
But I'm going to stir the pot here, and I think the Titans need to draft the best wide receiver on the board, and that's why I'm high on Quentin Johnson.
Okay.
Because let's be honest, you really want Cody Hollister out there for another year? Do you really want another year, Cody Hollister? Do you want Nick Westbrook-Akeem trying to catch passes?
No.
Offenses make all the difference in the
Good
world.
Lord, no.
And what are the offenses in the Super Bowl right now? Making plays with dynamic receivers. Tennessee needs to get them another burner right next to Traylon Burks and Chigakonkwo. I'm saying stack the board, and I'm going with Johnson if he's on the board.
Yeah. But
Okay.
another thing those teams have in
Yeah.
common is they have really good offensive lines. You know.
True. Some were drafted, and then some were brought in through free agency, though.
Yeah. So
So,
I mean, to
That's
me,
where that's where I see analytics coming in.
Yeah.
And why Rand Carthon's value in analytics can help this team. Now, not every guy that's on the bench doesn't mean that they're a bad player. It just means the team either has just an abundance of players that they can't get on the field, and they just need to either get rid of them or find a trade partner for them. So that's where I think Tennessee should start looking.
yeah. I mean, Wes Welker sat on the bench in Miami for how long? You know, there are those guys out
That's
there.
true.
You know, the Titans just have. I do not envy Rand in his decisions that he has to make. I don't envy him the least bit because these are some tough decisions. But my thing is, I think that the tackles in the second round are worse than the wide receivers in the second round. I think there's going to be a lot of wide receivers that are really good, really, really good in the second round that are low number 1 receivers, high number 2 receivers that are going to be in the second round. I don't see a second round left tackle out there that's a starter that is going to be a consistent starter in the first year. And that's what we need. We need a guy that's going to come in right now, have an impact right now on that offensive line.
I mean, if AJ Green type of receiver's on the board, I'm taking the AJ Green type receiver. I want the difference maker.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I mean, to me though, I think to James' point, I do agree. Like, offensive line is really top heavy in this draft, so you can get a wide receiver that could be dynamic in the second round or the third round. You can get a Jalen Hallett in the second round. You can get a Rasheed Rice, who I'm a huge fan of, being in Memphis and watching him play at SMU. So I think you can get quality deep threat wide receivers. Definitely, I mean, you should get as much speed at wide receiver as possible. As to Michael's point, I don't want to see long hair Cody Hollister on the field really. So if he does, get all the speed receivers possible. And change this offensive philosophy from being just a boring run first offense to being more of a balance, taking the top off of teams and getting the best receivers to take the top of the respective defenses. So, I mean, I think to me, if you go wide receiver, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I just want to go O-line to kind of solidify an offensive alignment, get a guy like Paris Johnson that you can get for the next 5 to 10 years, solidify that position, and then the rest of the draft you can focus on the needs, which is, of course, like wide receiver. Definitely get a couple of wide receivers. Don't get just one, get 2, maybe 3. Just get as much speed as possible and kind of adjust to the modern day NFL.
I think you can get like a Cedric Tillman. I mean, you can get a Cedric Tillman in the second round. Maybe what's his name? The kid from Wake Forest. Oh Lord, it's AT something. Let me look it up. AT Perry. There he is. Yeah, AT Perry in the second round. 6'5" guy, 4.40 guy. I mean, got great hands. I just think that you can get a higher quality receiver in the second round than you can a higher quality tackle in the second round. It's not to me. It's not
guard, though.
What's that?
Let me make this point, James, real quick.
Yeah.
2 years ago, the Bengals had a top 5 pick.
Yeah.
And everyone was saying, well, they're supposed to go offensive line, protect the quarterback.
Yeah.
What did they do? They went after Jamar Chase.
Yeah.
and the Bengals have now gone to 2 AFC championships. Yes, the Bengals' offensive line is still bad, but realistically, they're going to AFC championships. So, take into consideration, Ryan Tannehill is no Joe Burrow, but Ryan Tannehill has done a lot with really bad offensive lines. So, if we can get him a decent offensive line and elite receivers, what's to say this team can't get back to where they were 2 years ago?
I mean, I'm not
Well,
arguing
that's what I
that
was
we
going to
should.
say.
I'm not arguing that we should or shouldn't. I'm just saying from an analytical standpoint, I would go O-line because you can get a better O-lineman in the first round than you can in the second round, analytically speaking.
And sale-wise, I'm trying to sell jerseys and get people excited for a stadium. So we're both kind of on the same wavelength. We just have to connect.
Yeah. So I mean, I wouldn't be angry if they went wide receiver. I mean, I wouldn't be like, oh no, this is horrible. I wouldn't be like that. But if they went with O-line or wide receiver, I think that's there's good arguments for both. But to me, look, I like the down and dirty guys. I like the guys who. I like those guys who are down and dirty, but I think we can all agree that the Titans have more holes than they can fill in the draft. So free agency is going to have to be a part and parcel of it because we've got to do something. There's just too many holes to fill in the draft. Poor Cody. Everybody dogging Cody. Hey, look, he can block. He can block.
His hair is nice.
I will argue that point. I've heard that he can block and then see him block in the back or just completely miss blocks that wiped out some plays. So
go run to the middle of a pile when the play's 15 yards to the right of him. He run. You remember that game? What was that? It was I think it was a Henry run or something. He runs to the middle of the pile and blocks a guy in the back for no reason. And he's not even related to the play. And it was like, good Lord, man. Good
TV
Lord.
time. He's just trying to get the back of his jersey shown.
and I'm sorry, but Swaim, that guy, I mean, they talk about him being a good blocker. I don't see it. I mean, maybe I'm not seeing something other people are, but I've seen him get completely trucked quite a few times out there.
Well, Ryan, you want to take this one? We talked about this last night.
He can't block, but he makes up for it by not being able to catch. Yeah, he can't block, but he makes up for it by not being able to catch either. So.
That man just has no athletic ability. He runs like a duck.
Yeah.
Hey, Peyton Manning runs like a duck too, so.
But he scores.
Yeah.
Right. Well, anyways, guys, we're going to start wrapping it up here. Thank you, everybody in the chat who tuned in tonight. This has been a fantastic show. I appreciate all you guys. We'll just kind of go around. We'll start from Ryan, go from the bottom up and around, but let them know where to find you, your channels, all your respective channels, and all that type of stuff. So we'll start with you, Ryan.
All right. Rossi, as always, appreciate the invite. You can follow me on Twitter at RyanHarris662. You can also follow my podcast at the Jump Pass TN as abbreviated like Tennessee. I have shows, daily podcast shows weekly. You can catch the podcast on all major streaming platforms, just like Apple Music and Spotify. And, of course, it will be a new episode coming out this week. So, follow me, follow the podcast, and also tune in to the next episode and all older episodes as well. So I appreciate everybody in the chat, and I appreciate everybody here talking Titans football.
And Rossi, as always, thank you for having me on the show. This is the sexiest damn panel I've been a part of. You'd have to have an OnlyFans page to have this much good-looking people in one place. But shout out to the audience as well for joining in. You all have had great comments. We've had fun tonight. And as of course, we're all members of the Titan Upload Network. except for Tyler, but we love Tyler anyway. But as always, make sure you check out my page at the Power Hour 615 on Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and TikTok. I'm putting out content daily for you because I'm an entertainer at heart, and I love doing it for you, the fans.
And Tyler, let them know where to find you at, brother.
So find the podcast. If you're looking for the audio version of the podcast, it's on Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcast. Just type in Titans Time Podcast. On YouTube, Titans Time Podcast. Follow me on Twitter at Titans_time. Not really that active on Instagram or Facebook anymore, but am active on TikTok at Titans Time. A little bit different content on there. You'll still get some Titans news, stuff like that I put out there, but also kind of like Power Hour said, yeah, I'm beginning to find that entertainment side, and TikTok is where you see more of that. So yeah, definitely check me out there. And Rossi, thank you for having me on. It's always a blast coming on here. Everyone else been just a blast cutting it up with all y'all. So yeah.
Definitely, man, for sure. It's always a pleasure, man. And James, let them know what you got going on too.
You can find me on Titans for Life. I don't do a whole lot of Twitter, but it's Big Sportsman 3 on Twitter. I don't do a lot of Facebook. People always yell at me about that. I hit you up on Facebook. I'm like, well, dude, I just don't do a lot of Facebook. So, but yeah, and a lot of times I'm here. I'm on here with you, Rossi. We put some stuff together. When I'm unavailable to make a quick video or something like that, we need to get news out. I'll send it over to Rossi a lot of times, and he'll put it up on Twitter. So, I'm the Upload Network. We're a tight knit group. We give stories to each other because we know. We all have more different work schedules. So you can essentially find all of us on any one of our channels. So it just happens that's just how we are. You can find me a lot of times on Rossi's channel. I've been on Power Hour's channel. And Ryan, I'm crying, man. You hadn't invited me on your show yet.
I got you. We'll talk.
and Tyler, you're a good friend of the Upload Network. I'm kind of sad that I haven't been asked to be on yours either.
We'll definitely get you on here soon.
I'm gonna start crying here in a little while.
Everybody's getting emotional here.
Yeah, so
breakthrough.
So I just want our viewers to know for sure, like, anytime you hear something from Power Hour, Rossi, Ryan, anytime you hear anything like that, it could actually have came from any one of us. So don't think just because, we have our own channels that we're trying to compete with one another. Our job is to try to get you the information as quickly as possible, and I pass it on. I mean, I literally, I'm an insider. I guess I'm your resident insider. So lots of times I just don't have time to do it because I'm either working with my son, or I don't want to reveal certain things. So I will pass it to these guys. So look, subscribe to us all, and you won't miss anything. So that's just what I'm telling everybody. Look, subscribe to everyone. You will miss nothing because one of us will have it out quickly.
And we're quick.
That's right.
So,
yeah. So
when the news breaks, we're the ones that broke it.
Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it, man. I'll see y'all later.
See you.
See you.
See you, Rossi.
All right, so there's the esteemed panel, a bunch of awesome dudes, man. All friends of mine as well. So just awesome folks all around. And we really appreciate all of them and all their channels, respective channels and everything. So anyways, we're gonna get out of here, man. We had like 80 people in the house, pretty much the whole freaking show, 70, 80 people. So, man, I appreciate that. Awesome stuff tonight from you guys in the chat. Sorry we didn't get to as many chats as we typically do. Having 5 guests on makes it a little difficult. I did try and put them on the screen as much as possible, and we did talk about some of them. So much love to all you guys out there. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. Subscribe to this channel. We're trying to get to 2K on YouTube. We're closing in on 5K on Twitter. We've had some tweets that have just gone through the roof this season. Had a tweet recently, had 1.5 million views that we released the news about the players wanting to leave during that whole DeMar Hamlin. They didn't want to come back and play. We released that. We've released some news about Rand Carthen recently and all different types of stuff we broke on the channel through me and through James and a lot of us on the network here. So thank you guys so much again. We will see y'all soon, man. We'll see you very soon. Next week on the channel, we are having a very special show, Titans Coliseum. They're not really new to the game. They had a guy who had his own channel. They've kind of did a collaborative thing recently. Morocco Taylor, I believe I'm saying that wrong. If I'm not, I'm sorry, Morocco, but he's the guy that does all the hype videos on Facebook where he's like screaming into the camera and stuff. He's going to be on the show with all his buddies as far as that. They're going to be on the show next week. We're going to have Kevin, who's an Eagles fan, who came on the show to do the Eagles versus Titans preview. He's going to come back on, and we're going to chop it up about the Super Bowl. We might even get James on for that one too. And so we got a few shows coming up within the next week. Titans and Truth might be on next week too. So stay tuned for all that type of stuff, man. We thank y'all from the bottom of our hearts. Tighten up that like button. Please subscribe, and we will see y'all next time. Let's go.